Shut up and sit down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the KF Podcast. This is your Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler review. Thanks for finding us on the interwebs. Google us at the KF Podcast. We'll show up in all your shit, social media-wise, podcast-wise, YouTube-wise. So we got Donald, myself, Justin, Brock, and Lance, and we just got out of No Way Home, and we're going to spoil the shit out of this movie. So if you're still listening, it's your own fault.
Justin, what is there going to be?
There's going to be spoilers!
I was worried about that, spoilers.
Yeah,
there's no non-spoiler review here. We're getting right into the thick of it.
Yes.
Like a big dip.
Exactly. So, we'll get into just general review first of what people thought, and then we'll get into some more of the, I guess, heavier stuff. So, Justin, just remember, we go back years later and we rate these. We look at these ratings and how you get a little out of control and you're a little riding that high. So I hope the drive home calmed you down a little bit, bring you into a more stable area, and we're gonna let you start.
Why are you starting with him then?
What's that?
Why are you starting with him if you want him to calm down?
So we shouldn't start with him. All right.
We'll start with him so he can.
You're starting with him so you can make fun of him.
These are our new ones.
These are the new ones over here.
Start with Justin.
Don't let the shiny screen distract you, okay? Go, Justin.
What is going on?
He's looking at former movie reviews because I brought it up to see some of your scores here. That's all. Go ahead.
So I really, really enjoyed this movie. It did not fall into the same trap as the previous Spider-Man movies, trying to just shoehorn a whole bunch of people in to and kind of avoiding story to go ahead and just to get people shoehorned in there. I thought everything with the characters made sense. The action was great, a lot of emotion. I really liked it. So no, Don, I'm not down off my high yet. I'm probably going to give this a ridiculous rating.
No!
And you just have to deal with it.
All right, Brock.
I didn't think this was going to live up to the hype because there was a lot of hype and all kinds of speculation and whatnot, and I think it actually delivered. I really liked it. I don't know if I'd call it the best Spider-Man movie of all time, but it's up there. A lot of cool surprises and stuff that we'll get into. Like Justin said, the characters weren't forced, but they were conveniently close to each other. But yeah, I liked it.
Lance?
I'm not quite as high as Justin, but I liked it.
I wish I was as high as Justin.
No, the story integrating that many characters was very well done. That was impressive. And there's a few things I didn't like about it, but in general, yeah, it's a good job.
Ken?
I think it's the best Spider-Man movie. Is it the best Marvel movie? No. Excuse me. I like a lot of what they did. I'm excited for what the end scenes are foreshadowing, and I think that we should start getting into but I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I also really enjoyed it. I think since watching Endgame and coming off the Endgame high, this was the first movie that actually felt like a big budget MCU movie to me since then. And that includes Far From Home, the other Spider-Man movie, Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, all of them. This is the first, dip back into the big pool with the big boys, as it seems. Very well done. Obviously, the surprises in it are amazing. I don't know why we're not saying it. We can say it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not spoiler. The Tobey and Andrew stuff was done perfectly. They did a great job of hiding that from everybody and not showing it in trailers.
Well, they actually did a terrible job that turned out to be a great job.
Yeah. Well, the scenes where you could see that it was clearly the three of them swinging together in the trailers that we all dissected and talked about. So That was well done.
It has to make you think that they let that initial leak out on purpose.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Yeah.
the Matt Murdock scene was totally from The Apartment.
Yeah.
I mean, we call
Yeah.
it that one was totally true.
Yeah.
Not only was the action really good and everyone was good, this was Tom Holland's best appearance, acting
Absolutely.
wise. I mean, in the other
Yeah.
movies, he was really just sort of goofy and funny. You got to see him from a laughing standpoint to crying and pure emotional and sadness, and then the very like solemn, broken loner that he is at the end of the movie. Like it was, he got to show a lot in this movie, which I liked a lot.
You also got to see more of the scientist Peter Parker in this one as well, which they've touched on before, saying that he was smart, he was one of the top in the class, but they've never really shown it in the movies other than talking about it.
So let's talk best and worst first. So we'll start with best. Lance, what did you think was the best part of this movie?
Best part of the movie was probably the Benedict Cumberbatch. I think he cemented his spot as Doctor Strange and a very good Doctor Strange.
He was really good. He was really good. What do you think was the best part of this movie?
I
Or best parts, if you have a couple.
liked how each villain had their reason for wanting to go back or stay, regardless. You know, however, but they all worked together at the end, but they all wanted different things, which didn't make sense.
But they were humanized, which is
Yeah.
something very rare in...
Because the Toby villains were definitely like, they weren't bad people.
Yeah.
They got put into a situation where their
Shit went
mental
wrong,
health
yeah.
or whatever, you know, they got hurt. But I did like the redemption of the villains, and I did like how they updated their looks to make them more comic accurate.
Yeah, we were all speculating how Octopus had red on his claws for weeks on weeks.
Yeah.
It was just simply touching it and stealing the nano stuff. I thought that was good. Then he was controlled it. That was a good scene. What do you think? What was your favorite part?
I mean, I thought the visual effects of the villains were fantastic. Like to see like a Sandman that didn't look dumb. Like, you know, they really made Electro look good. Like, you know, guys that didn't get a good service to them at the time, they really fixed. Like we were talking before we started that, like, I visually liked the way that Green Goblin showed up in the classic movie costume, put on his homeless clothes clearly over his metal costume, and as he was going crazy and it shredded off, it looked like the original Green Goblin, like garb.
I thought they could have gave him something to wear instead of the hoodie. I would like to see some purple on there, maybe.
Well, his purple, like, he
Was
did
in
wear the hood.
Yeah, there's a little
like,
bit of. Yeah, I would like to see some kind of a goblin mask.
Yeah.
But, you know, it does look kind of silly if you
Yeah.
think about it. It might have looked too much.
And really, if you have a guy like Willem Dafoe doing the acting and his face looks so maniacal as it is, it's like you don't even need a mask.
He was really good. He was really good.
I thought I was shocked how much he was
They were
involved.
de-aged a little bit, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Him and who's the Dr. Octopus guy?
Molina.
Yeah. And the guy from Wings just didn't have to show up. Did some audio stuff. Showed up.
He
one
showed
day.
up at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
What about your favorites?
It's hard to tell, like, what a favorite part of it was. I mean, the acting in this took a big jump forward.
Oh no! Oh no!
Take a picture of that face.
Oh no!
So,
All right, we're back. Go ahead.
Sorry, I got cut off a little bit. I think the acting took a big step up in this one. We got to see so many different aspects of Tom Holland and how he portrayed Peter Parker. Willem Dafoe is always amazing. I liked Jamie Foxx. I thought Zendaya was cool. I thought she did a great job. Ned was good. This was a fantastic movie, and I think my favorite part was seeing, like, how much better each of these people could be.
Yeah.
For me, my favorite definitely it was the mixture of the three Spider-Men. I mean, they were so good together. Just the talking and joking and the interacting, the making fun of Toby's Spider-Man because of his webs coming out of his body, and then when Andrew got it on his face at the end, was like, gross, like all that stuff together, really the brotherhood that they did with the three of them. It was just something that I wanted to see. I hoped they were going to do it, and they did it. And they did it well. It wasn't cheesy. There wasn't a stupid reason behind it. I like their introductions, how they all came out, and they were all proving they were Peter and not a Peter. And so the Spider-Man together was great. I love the Matt Murdock scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just that's all you needed was just that. I mean,
with him catching the brick,
and then just they just put a little in there to we're gonna get more of that. They didn't have to flush too much of it in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But he was on screen for 30 seconds.
30 seconds is all you needed to let you know that he lives around and he knows Peter.
Yeah,
well, he knew Peter.
He knew Peter.
Yeah, he knew Peter. So, but he knows Spider-Man.
Yeah,
we'll put it that way. So that was neat. Yeah, that was cool. I really liked Doc Ock too. I thought they got to do more with that character than they did in the old movies, which was cool.
Yeah, the special effects have definitely advanced that character.
Oh yeah,
a lot.
that bridge scene was a really well done scene. The way those arms are grabbing everything.
Oh yeah,
that was an intense action scene. The action scenes were really well done.
That was like Civil War-esque.
Yeah, all the fights were really good. Let's talk about what. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I liked what the comment he made when Peter pulled out the extra arms on the Iron Spider suit. He's we have competition.
Well, I like that they kind of go in for Dr. Octavius. They go into the fact that he's got almost schizophrenia because the claws are talking to him.
Right.
And then once they put that chip in to help with that situation, he's now it doesn't have to hear. He doesn't hear all the voices in his head.
Right.
Which is
he's back to the grandfather Doc Ock.
Exactly.
Well, what was the purpose of that device anyway? Was it supposed to help paralyze people or something?
No, that was to help
contain the
energy field.
Yeah.
Okay.
From the
I couldn't remember what it
source.
was done for.
Yeah. And then he got fused to a spine or something.
Yeah.
They put that.
It was originally connected to his spine, so it would react that quickly. But then it got fused, and
yeah, he went crazy.
Yeah, both those Toby villains were experimenting on stuff. Went not say the same sort of motif going through them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and even the Andrew villains too, to an extent,
weren't bad guys to begin with, and
no.
just kind of got caught up.
Kurt Connors was trying to help people regrow lost limbs, and then he became a lizard monster and
wanted to make the whole world.
and Jamie Foxx was just
attacked by electric eels.
Tom Holland's villains were bad dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vulture was a bad guy,
Right.
and then
all his villains also were Stark people that
Stark. They hated Stark.
Yeah. But I also think that maybe to turn into the worst part of the movie or bad parts of the movie. The only
Go
bad
ahead, you
part,
can start off bad parts.
Jamie Foxx now being pretty in this universe. And he's I'm not a nerd anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, let's fix that. It's a little retcon there.
Yeah, made him good looking again.
Yeah. Which really, he just needed to fix his teeth and then he was fine.
No, he had a comb over.
He could have shaved his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be annoyed with Doctor Strange, but I wasn't. The magic made more sense once you heard what it was doing, the way it worked, and all that. It didn't make sense in the trailer as much, but when they tied it in, that's why people are coming through, because they know who you are.
Yeah.
But that brings me to the part I hated the most about it, and that was that stupid Venom cameo at the end. That was the
What
dumbest,
was the point of that?
That was so stupid. Because number one, why would Venom come through the universe? He didn't know Peter.
Nope.
He had no idea who he was.
Well,
the only time he saw Peter was once he was brought into the world. He saw him on the screen and was like, oh, Peter Parker, Spider-Man. That's after he was already in the MCU. He got sucked through. So there's no reason to bring him through at all. They brought him through for 2 seconds so he could leave a piece of Venom behind, so now we can get an MCU Venom. So now we can be totally confused and have Sony Venom, and now we can have MCU Venom.
But maybe we don't get Venom. Maybe we just get the symbiote.
Ken and I talked about this right at the end.
Right.
Go ahead.
Here's my reaching for the farthest strand possible.
Go for it.
So they have established in canon in Venom 2 that the Venom symbiote is a hive mind across the universe and multiverse.
Right.
That piece of Venom that is left can now realizes it needs the Eddie Brock of that universe,
Right.
Because it's the best host for him. That Eddie Brock should be working for J. Jonas Jameson at the Daily Bugle,
Okay.
and then it should also be Tom Holland. So what they do is actually have,
and keep Tom Holland.
well, they
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
yeah,
Make him look just like Tom.
make him look like the Eddie Brock, like, because Eddie Brock was like buff. Like he was.
I
like,
would
he was-
love to
in a
cast
midget,
Tom.
yeah.
Recast Tom Hardy's a midget. I want someone big.
I agree, but they
Yeah.
already said that they like Tom Hardy as like the Venom. But you can change the character and like almost retcon those two Sony movies.
Yes.
By having a
But I don't think they're going to.
they might not, but I think it's a way that they could do it.
If they do that and they just say, well, that Venom that you saw in those 2 movies, he's gone.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about him anymore. He's gone. Now this thing's going to find Tom Hardy in the MCU.
Yeah.
And now we're going to have MCU Venom, and he's going to have the spider on his chest. He's going to go through Peter first, and you're going to do it the right way. Fine. You can keep Tom Hardy, fine. If they don't do that and they still make a Sony-verse with that same one, with the goofiness and all that, and then we have one in Spider-Man movies, and people are... Now you're in a DC world.
Yes.
Where we have 2
Yeah.
Batmans and 5 Supermans.
Well,
now
I think
you're...
they have a pass now because
Yeah.
they established a multiverse.
Yeah.
Which I hate.
Yeah, which does suck. But I don't think the Mobius happens in the Venom. I think this happens in the new MCU. The Mobius movie happens in the new MCU.
Interesting. That's why he knows. That's why Vulture's there.
That's why Vulture's there. I think the suit that everyone thought was Amazing Spider-Man is the suit you see at the end that that he's swinging around
That
in.
new blue suit.
That
yeah.
new blue suit.
Yeah.
And I
Comic
think,
accurate.
Yeah.
and they showed the outlines of a bunch of people. I think they were teasing that, like, they were kind of saying before that the Sinister Six movie Sony want to do is all tech-based.
Yeah.
I think that's out the window now. I think you're going to get a pretty true enactment. So, like the top right said, a rhinoceros broke out of the zoo.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get a true rhino where it's either serum or magic or whatever. But I think you're now in the new universe, and I actually wouldn't be surprised.
So
if,
Morbius might take place down the road.
Yes.
After the symbiote causes some problems in
Yes.
in San Francisco and does some other things.
Well, I actually think that San Francisco stuff doesn't even matter anymore.
Well, the cop says it in the Morbius.
I was going to
movie.
say, he mentions
Oh
it.
yeah,
He doesn't say it's
Yeah.
Venom, but
And he
he
calls
says
himself Venom.
He said we had that incident with the thing, and then Morbius
This
calls
will-
himself Venom,
Yeah, this is the worst thing since that thing in San Francisco.
and then Morbius goes, "I'm Venom." Just kidding. I'm Dr. Michael Morbius.
Oh, that's right. He does say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, unless that's just for commercials. And they cut it out. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
But it didn't make any sense to me why he was pulled here, other than convenience.
Unless he gets pulled back in another, like, because we know that there's no another Spider-Man not on the docket for a while.
Yeah.
So this is a way that you get him out of there if you don't want to use him, but you have the plot convenience of Multiverse of Madness to bring him back in.
Yeah, or leaving the piece behind tells me was we got a symbiote now in MCU. Now we can do what we want to do.
But-
You know? And if it's hive mind, then maybe it remembers who Peter is because he found it out by watching the news.
So I
Yeah.
thought about that, and I think that everything is erased. I think there's pictures
Yeah.
erased. I don't think anyone's like. No, I don't think the Avengers are going to know. I think he's
No, they're
Yeah.
definitely not going to know.
the only person I think that may remember him is Vision.
Because he's not a human or a living being.
Yeah, and he's got the entire internet like.
Well, Vision's not alive anymore.
But the white Vision is.
Well, they're both back now. Weren't they both back at the end of WandaVision?
No, one was Wanda's construction.
One went away.
And then the white one, we don't know what happened to. He went away.
He flew away too.
He just left.
So that was one of my things. Just that scene I didn't really care for. Other than that, there wasn't really a lot that. I mean, how about you? Anything bother you about it?
Biggest thing that bothered me, and this was a plot thing. Tom Holland in the beginning, yeah, he's the immature Tom Holland. All right, fucking immature Tom Holland causes a cataclysmic event because he doesn't want to get into college, or because he didn't get into college. That to me was sort of stupid.
You'd think he would be adjusted to after being zapped away for 5 years. That it takes some things into some perspective, but
Like he didn't know that. Let me go try and talk to the
Yeah,
Yeah.
people first, or call them. People. let it die down a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, they really were acting like they didn't get in that their lives were over.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, well, it's still fresh. Maybe take a semester off, let things chill. Maybe they'll let you back in if you keep your head low. You know, it was really a knee-jerk reaction.
You know,
and I'm surprised Doctor Strange was so up for it.
It reminded me of when you're reading comic books. Okay, you have that main story. Then there's that silly little Spider-Man's Day Out comic in the back.
Yeah.
That's what that reminded me of.
Yeah.
I think that they really amped up the he's 18 and isn't thinking straight all the time.
But my point is that there were other adults in the room.
Yeah. Well, speaking of other adults in the room, Aunt May is the reason for all this nonsense.
It's true.
And
Putting the guilt trip on him.
And if she deserved to die.
But it's
because all you had to do was just send them back.
Yeah, he wanted to.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
What about you two? What's something you didn't like about it?
I would have liked to see more people who knew who the Peters were from different realities come through besides villains, like in like a Mary Jane or something. Like, why not?
Oh, yeah.
You know, because it was supposed to be anybody who knew who he was.
Yeah. That's right, like a Kirsten Dunst, you know, appearance,
or even some something from like movies that we didn't see, like maybe a different villain that wasn't in a movie, like because there's supposed to be a multiverse, not three universes.
It would have been the perfect place to show the Craven.
Yeah, like just throw somebody else in there.
When they showed the purple, they showed silhouettes of a lot of things.
Yeah.
There was a guy with a spear.
Yeah, he was one of
There's
them.
a rhino. Then there's like some other figures that it could have been.
There's a lot coming through. But yeah, it would have been nice to throw a new one in there. Some of you didn't know, but they probably don't want to waste a villain appearance. But you could have just done a villain maybe you were never even going to plan on doing.
Yeah.
Someone that will never make a movie.
Yeah.
Speed. Who's the guy on the skateboard?
Oh,
Rocket Racer.
Rocket Racer.
Or Big Wheel.
Oh, Big Wheel would have been great.
Or the Spot.
I half expected to see the Spider-Mobile in this.
Armadillo would have been cool.
Armadillo.
I don't know, that's just nitpicking at this point. There,
Yeah.
just trying to figure.
It would have been
something.
cool though. So, do someone that you know you're never Moreland.
Yeah, it would have been cool. Like just a couple of those guys got through the multiverse barrier, and they had to fight them, and because they were going to zap them away anyway.
Yeah, they weren't going to exist.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spider-Ham.
How about you? Anything you didn't like?
There were a few moments that I thought were a little off, but I mean, off the top, I'm still riding high on this movie. We shouldn't have reviewed it so soon. No, there were a couple little plot convenience things, but again, it's more nitpicky stuff. I'm curious as to what they're going to do with Ned and the magic.
I bet
if anything, or if that just dies with this movie.
Yeah.
I
like the tease
don't
about
know.
Ned about I won't become a villain and try to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, well, you're totally Hobgoblin. But,
Yeah.
a weird version of Hobgoblin.
Did anyone else, when they walked into the Sanctum Sanctorum and all the snow was there and the two people shoveling?
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be Awkwafina and Shang-Chi.
Oh, it could have been.
Everybody got a place to put them.
It would have been.
I guess it all
It would've
depends.
been funny.
People don't know what timeline this is, though, because this movie took place right after Far From Home, where Shang-Chi
Yeah.
was a little further down.
True.
Yes.
true.
Because that movie, Endgame, had happened. It had been a few years out.
This is like the second after that other movie.
This was like right the next day after that
Yeah,
movie
you're
had
right.
ended.
Oh,
So
yeah, because this was really,
I kind of feel like maybe that didn't happen yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This movie the timelines are tricky to fall into because
Yeah.
they're putting a lot of these things like Hawkeye, Shang-Chi, Eternals, they're a little further out from the snap. The snap happened a few years ago, where this is like 6 months after the snap.
Right.
which could make for very interesting if you don't, because everyone forgets Spider-Man. He could be a big reveal later on that's like these shows that are 5 years down the road. And
They
you
forget
could-
Peter Parker, but they know Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, if you get a Spider-Man that shows up and like, or if you see Peter just show up in some shit and he's like hanging out as Peter, and he's like,
Which is
Or-
going to
or
be
Miles
weird
Morales
because
walks in.
do they remember Spider-Man fighting in the battle to save the world, or because they know it was Peter? Like, there's a lot of questions. And they're out there now because of this movie.
Yeah.
there's a lot of people dead. that he was close to. So it's like, who does he even have?
Yeah.
I was really hoping that I knew it wasn't going to happen, but for some reason I really was hoping for like a Madam Web at the end of this to be like, I felt very much like Peter's very alone. And I would like to just had some hope that he had someone else to like.
That was going to be with him.
Yeah,
he was
like,
very alone at the end.
Yeah, like, and it just would have been nice to have him have something to like.
I also thought when people were coming through that Iron Man was going to come through from another dimension because he knows Peter Parker.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Was anyone else annoyed with the way Happy was portrayed in this?
He was a little bit of an idiot.
Yeah.
He was so in love with Aunt May, and she's dumping him. That was like unnecessary. You didn't need that part.
That, and he's it's almost like I don't know how to do any Stark tech. You were the head of security for Stark Industries,
or you were just stealing all the stuff.
Yeah,
like the plot convenience of what you stole, exactly what Peter needed to fabricate.
Yeah, you were stealing everything out of it. Yeah. But I almost don't. I don't know. MJ and Ned, it's good and all, but if they're talking that they're going to move him into like a new trilogy, I'd almost be all right if those two are now. He leaves them alone so he doesn't screw them up, and then we get maybe Gwen,
or Mary Jane,
or a different Mary Jane, or Bobby and Angelica. Just throwing that out there, Bobby and Angelica.
That's
Firestar and
Iceman, two new buddies for him to hang out with.
I told Ken they're gonna go off to MIT in Boston, and he's gonna follow them there, but he's going to live with your wet dream and trying to get or MJ and Ned to know.
All right if Ned and her just kind of went away. They did their part in the movie.
I was actually thinking that Ned and Zendaya were actually going to hook up.
I thought so too.
That's what I was thinking too.
I thought because the memory
he's too ugly for her.
No, but here's the plot. Every memory they have together had Peter in the center.
Yeah,
of it, and they both
it's got Peter in the center for sure.
But they had affection for Peter.
Yeah.
But now that he's gone, they replace. Basically, it's easy to replace that affection for each other.
I don't know. The way she was looking at him, like they're going to do that. There's something there.
I get that, and I honestly think that they could or they couldn't. Whatever, they can write it as like, oh, I didn't want to hurt them, so I just left them.
It seemed to me like they weren't close though. Like she said hi to him and gave him his food, but then walked away. It really wasn't like she was like, hey, like they're real close. Like, oh, you got an MIT.
Oh, they're close.
I think it'd be let's move on and get some new blood in there. Let's get a different MJ or like I said, do Gwen.
Yeah.
Do some other people. I mean, it would be cool to see this Tom Holland version of Spider-Man, especially with them doing Fantastic Four, for him and Johnny to become friends. Like if you need people in his corner and people to know who he is, come out and tell your secret to the Fantastic Four and him and have Johnny and him as friends.
And it would be great if the Fantastic Four shows up and then Peter shows up. He's like, I'm joining the Fantastic Four, just like Amazing Spider-Man 1, where he was looking to be a part of a team because he's been a part of a team, but no one remembers him now.
Yeah.
So
that would be cool.
Now that they have, because they didn't use these people because they didn't have them when they made the first Spider-Man, so they had to come up with taking Ned Leeds, who's a villain, and making him his best friend. But now you're going to have access to Johnny Storm, who really is Peter's best friend. Mm-hmm. You got Daredevil, who is a mentor of him. You know what I mean? So I think you could take this version of Spider-Man and start introducing some of the mutants that he's friends with, Fantastic Four, and move.
It all depends on how long this Marvel deal's going.
Well, it seems like they keep signing deals with Sony. Yeah. I mean, Sony, how much money are they going to make off this? You think they're really going to go,
this has potential to make Endgame money.
It's going to beat everything else that they've done,
Well, it doesn't really have any other competition.
Well, but Matrix.
Yeah, that'll get 1 week worth of box office.
But Matrix is at home. You can watch it on HBO, so a lot a lot of people aren't going to go.
That's what I mean.
That's actually the whole plot of the movie. It's just Matrix at home.
Yeah, it's at Matrix at home.
They're in their pajamas.
The old nightclub, and Justin works there. All right, this one's going long. Let's do a rating and see how this goes, and then we'll call it a day. Justin, would you like to know what you rated the first 2 minutes?
No, don't tell him. Don't tell him.
No,
he can't. Don't tell him. I want to see this
first 2 Spider-Man.
Never mind. We're just gonna have. We'll do you last. Okay. We're gonna go you last. We're gonna go to Lance first.
3.5.
It's out of 10 now.
It's out of 10 now.
Oh, it's out of 10.
So you're gonna do 7.
7 for Lance. Okay.
Idiot. So we know who doesn't listen to our show.
Lance.
Well, I technically didn't put it out yet.
Oh, never mind.
I forgot.
Who's the idiot?
Let's go to Brock.
8.
Brock goes with an 8. Let's go to Ken.
I'm going to go...
You can't look.
I just did. I'm going with an 8 as well.
I like that it's only half a point higher than Homecoming, because you're a dummy.
What are you talking about?
It's way better than Homecoming. You gave it only half a point higher than Homecoming.
Which one was the vacation movie?
That was Far From Home. You gave that a 7.
Okay. I stand by what I said. Fuck you.
Justin.
You go before Justin.
All right, I'll go first. So you can think about it for a minute.
He really needs that time.
I'm gonna
Hey, you
go,
can't look. You can't look. Just go.
I'm going to go 8-5.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not going to get the 9s where Panther and... Well, Panther's 8-5 also. I like it just as much as that. It's not going to get the Endgame score of 9-5 or the Infinity War of 9, but I'll give it an 8-5. I liked it a lot.
I'll go 8-5 as well.
He copied me.
He did. He wanted to do 10.
He wanted to... it's not going to get a 9?
He wanted to do a 9.75 if he could.
No, because again, I know I gave Endgame a 9.5. I think Infinity War was a 9.
Yeah.
So it was either an 8. I was either going to give it an 8.5 or a 9. I'll go with 8.5.
This score's really going to bring up my average rating.
Yep.
Of a 5.4 that I give movies. Okay. Good.
All right.
It's a good movie.
It is. Go see it. We didn't even talk about it.
We're going to do that on the weekend review.
The trailer.
We're going to talk about the Doctor. We'll do spoilers. We'll talk Doctor Strange on there.
Okay, sounds good. All right, everyone, please like, share, subscribe, invite, tell your friends, and have a great evening.
Later.
Later.